Today, we're going to dig into Palantir's absolutely game-changing fourth quarter. This was a period where the company's performance basically went into hyperdrive, all fueled by the skyrocketing demand for their artificial intelligence platform. But before we dive into the results, let me ask you something. How do you actually measure if a software company is doing well? What's that one metric that separates the good companies from the truly, truly elite ones? Well, what if I told you that one single number could tell you almost the whole story? For Palantir, in the last quarter of 2025, that number was 127%. So let's break down what that actually means. It all comes down to this thing in the industry called the Rule of 40. Just think of it like a quick health score. It's pretty simple, really. You just take a company's revenue growth rate and add its profit margin. If the total is over 40%, you're in the big leagues. You're considered an elite company. It's a really high bar. Most fantastic companies would be thrilled to hit 40 or 50. But Palantir's score of 127%, that isn't just elite. It's not even close. It basically puts them in a completely different category, what they're calling the Rule of 120 frontier. Okay, so a number that huge doesn't just pop out of nowhere, right? So let's peel back the curtain and see what's really driving this incredible performance. Turns out, one specific part of the business is basically acting like a rocket engine. And it all comes down to their U.S. commercial business. Look, we all know Palantir for its big government contracts, but that's not the story here. The real story is their expansion into the private sector, right here in the U.S., and it is absolutely on fire. Let's just hit these numbers fast. U.S. commercial revenue, year over year, up an insane 137%. Okay, now what about their total U.S. revenue, including all those government contracts? That's up 93%. And get this, the value of the new commercial deals they signed, up 67%. That is the very definition of hypergrowth. And this chart, it just makes it so clear. You can really see the jump from $214 million just 1 year ago to over $500 million now. That's not just growing, that's like shifting into a whole new gear. And it's not just one or two massive deals propping this up. It's the sheer volume. Think about this. In just one quarter, they closed 180 deals worth at least $1 million. 84 of those were for $5 million or more. And an absolutely staggering 61 deals were worth $10 million or more. The demand is coming from everywhere. All right, those numbers are just mind-blowing, right? But what does this actually look like in the real world? What are customers actually doing with this tech? Let's go from the balance sheet to the real world, from spreadsheets to submarines. So one of the coolest examples is their work with the U.S. Navy. They launched this thing called ShipOS, and it's basically deploying Palantir software across the entire U.S. maritime industry to fix decades of delays and cost overruns. The goal? Make sure critical ships and subs are delivered on time. And the results? Well, they're pretty jaw-dropping. Just take planning a submarine schedule. What used to take 160 hours of work, they can now do it in 10 minutes. Reviewing materials, that could take weeks, it's now done in under an hour. That's a total reinvention of how they work. Listen to how the Secretary of the Navy, John Phelan, described it. He said, "ShipOS is not just new software, it is a new way of doing business." That quote tells you everything you need to know about the kind of impact we're talking about here. And look, this isn't just about submarines and warships. They have this initiative called Chain Reaction, where they're bringing this same AI backbone to the core of our economy, partnering with NVIDIA on things like energy grids, and working with industrial giants like HD Hyundai. It's not just about tech either. They're investing in people. The American Tech Fellowship for Veterans is a really cool program that helps veterans turn their unique battlefield experience into high-tech AI skills that the country needs. Okay, so we've seen the insane numbers and some amazing real-world examples. The big question is, how do they keep this momentum going? What's the plan from here? Well, it looks like they have a three-part blueprint. First, they're giving customers more tools to build their own AI apps right on the platform. Second, they're using their own AI to speed up the really painful process of moving data over to their system, turning a years-long headache into a matter of weeks. That's a huge selling point. And finally, they're teaming up with big players like Accenture to get their tech into even more industries. So that's the strategy. And you know what? They are not being shy about how well they think it's going to work. Their financial guidance for the next year is, well, let's just say it's incredibly confident. Okay, so for 2026, they're forecasting total revenue to hit around 7.2 billion. But here's the kicker. Look at that US commercial line again. They're expecting it to grow another 115% to over $3.1 billion. They're basically saying, yeah, this hypergrowth, it's the new normal for us. And you've got to remember, they have the firepower to make this happen. The company has $7.2 billion in cash just sitting there. And get this, zero debt. That gives them a ton of flexibility to execute their plan. So when you boil it all down, Palantir is making a huge bet here. They're betting that their AI platform is going to become the fundamental operating system for pretty much every important industry out there. And after a quarter like this one, you just have to wonder, is this the moment? Is this when that massive bet really starts to pay off?